Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show and our transfer deadline day reaction video. I'm Chris Bell, joined by Gareth Walker and Lewis Sale. A little bit later on, we will be joined by Jayson Boocker and Stephen Browne, as well as they no doubt bring some depression to transfer deadline day, given Leeds' inactivity. Today. How are we, gents? Are we well, Lou, Gaz?
All good, thank you. Yourselves?
Yes, not too bad, not too bad. I mean, I appreciate you coming on, Lucas. You've been starting a new job today, so it's you must be shattered, but it's good to get you on all the same.
No worries, mate. No worries.
And of course, being a Newcastle fan, as well as our non-league expert, we had to get you on at the same time as Gaz, a Liverpool fan, because of course, let's just start with that. The big thing, the big will it, won't it, etc. of the summer has happened, and I mean, I expected Gaz to look happier than he's currently expressing so far, and I expected Lou to look sadder than he is. But go on, Isak's done.
Yeah, Isak's done. I'm not overly surprised. I think the way things were kind of materialising in the past few days, it seemed to be, and I've said it to you guys, and in the past, especially with Gaz, us talking about the situations at our clubs, that it always felt like Newcastle had conditions that had to be met for that to go through. I feel that that's pretty much as close as what we were going to want from it. Obviously, there were reports of 150 million. You can, whether that's euros, pounds, or whatever, the semantics come into it. Ultimately, Newcastle have got a reasonably decent price considering what quality you can offer. Newcastle have recruited and probably bought in a couple of players with that money, if I'm being honest. I think all in all, it feels like it's a right thing to have happened. I would have been very surprised if he'd been with us until at least January. With everything that's gone on, it felt like the ties had been completely broken, and it just needed to happen, both for the club and I think for the player. And regardless of whether people think different situations about Liverpool and Newcastle and Isak, listen, it's going to take him probably a month to get up to speed, no doubt about that. But Liverpool have got time to play with that. They've in plenty of competitions. And it makes him stronger. That's ultimately what he does. He improves the attacking options and he improves the squad overall. Yes, there's probably, I don't know, we'll come on to it, what Liverpool may have potentially could do, but there's also January to come round. It's easy to forget that's the case. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. It's just a shame from a Newcastle perspective how it's turned out.
Yeah. Gaz, your take from a Liverpool side of things that getting it over the line?
Yeah, I was very unsure, not as sure as Lou that it was going to happen. I try and stay quiet on it because these transfers are just like, they can go either way at any time, and you've just seen what's happened with Gay at whatever time it's happened tonight. It can all go south at any time during the deal, and there was obviously Isak's behaved how he's behaved, which has not gone down well, and rightly not gone down well with a lot of people. I'm surprised that, in a way, he's got the deal. His deal's gone through when he's behaved like that, whereas Gay's behaved impeccably and he's not got his move, which isn't ideal, really. It's not how you like to see things go. But yeah, Lou's right. It'll take him time to get up to speed. I think he's going away with Sweden. I think they still called him up, did Sweden? So he's going to be playing for them in their World Cup qualifiers over the next week, 2 weeks, whatever it may be. But he's going to need time. He's been training on his own all summer, hasn't he, from what I can gather? So, but yeah, Liverpool, from a Liverpool perspective, they needed another number 9. I think they only really had Ekitike who could play that role. I think a big advantage for them last season over Arsenal was that they had so many options in forward areas, and Arsenal didn't. Well, Arsenal have gone and signed Gyökeres, Madueke and Eze this summer, so they've beefed up their forward options, whereas Liverpool obviously let Nunes go, they let Diaz go, and then there was the tragedy regarding Diogo Jota, so they were 3 down, really. I know they brought in Ekitike and Wirtz, but Wirtz is seen as more of a 10, so Yeah, I think it helps them. Obviously, he's the best striker in the Premier League. He's one of the best strikers in the world. The only issue is going to be getting him fit because he obviously had calf issues at Newcastle. So that's going to be something that Liverpool are going to have to deal with going forward. But great player from a Liverpool perspective. You've got to be really happy.
You caught me then, just as I was taking a drink. We'll no doubt, I'm sure, when the lads come on a little bit later, talk about more of the Premier League side of things as well in due course. Let's turn our attention a little bit close to home then and look at the Bradford side of things. And, a reasonably busy day actually across Bradford in the transfer window. And let's start with the big marquee one, as Ian's brought up. Luke Hendry signing for Bradford Park Avenue, Lou.
Yeah, it's not one we expected to have a deadline day.
It's a deadline day. It's a deadline day deal, even if there isn't a window at Avenue's level.
Yeah, absolutely. Gonna sound probably biased here, but it's a superb signing for the level. Luke Hendry's played over 40 games for Morecambe. Was, I think, one of the players of the season last season. Obviously, circumstances have been difficult at Morecambe, as we know, and luckily they've got that resolved and they've been able to keep the club new manager and keep the football club going, which was great. I believe Luke Hendry's circumstances have changed a little bit during that time as well, which has meant, the opportunity avenue was potentially available. It's something that, it's going to be a massive boost for Avenue. It's going to be an interesting one because there's plenty of decent players in that position and where he can cover. But I think all in all, from an Avenue perspective and the league as well, I think it's a big coup because you only have to look, yes, locally to home, but to get the calibre of the likes of Mark Beavers and Luke Hendry in the team, who should arguably be probably playing Conference League football, National League is what it's call it nowadays, is a big thing. So, yeah, super signing. Obviously, Gaz will know him from his time at City. It was, a little bit different, obviously, from his time at Morecambe. I know he's been, a really good success at Morecambe. You have to see, you get a slight gauge, not the full truth, but you see the reactions on social media from a lot of fans. They were really surprised to see him not starting at the weekend, and that kind of got people asking why is he not playing. And then the news has come out today, and Morecambe fans are not devastated. He's a long way to go, but they're disappointed because of what he could offer for Morecambe still at this point in his career. So yeah, for Avenue, it's a big signing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Gaz, what can you tell of his younger days when he was at City?
He's always steady away. I mean, he had two spells at City. He came on loan when Stuart McCall was in his second spell as manager. The year we nearly, can't remember what year it was. We're in League One. I remember him playing at Shrewsbury away, and he was absolutely outstanding. He put in a performance that day. It's probably one of his best in his career, I'd guess. We were under the cosh. It was when Shrewsbury had Paul Hurst as manager, and they were up flying high at the top of League One, and they absolutely battered us. And I think it's the most, what do they call it, shithouse wins I've ever seen. City probably got out of our own half once in the entire game and won 1-0 through an own goal. But Luke Hendry, yeah, obviously strong links in the area. Dad played for City. I would imagine he still lives around the area. As you were saying, it's a bit of a coup for Avenue because just for the fact that he's dropped down, is it 3 levels he's dropped down? Because he's been playing in the conference regularly until Saturday. And like Lou says, Morecambe fans were surprised that he wasn't playing on Saturday. So he's obviously been doing steady away at that level. So to drop down for Avenue where they are, I think it's a really, really good signing.
Yeah, and a local lad as well, Lou, obviously. So, he moves back to the area and in that respect, he'll give him some security that he's back playing locally and he'll be able to enjoy his football, even as Gaz says, it's, three leagues or so below last season when he was in League Two with Morecambe.
Yeah, there's definitely obviously that locality, which is a big thing for Craig Elliott and his team. I know he was very keen to get people who were in and around the local area as best as he can do for the calibre. Luke Hendry definitely fits that bill, but importantly, at this level of football, you need leaders, you need experience, you need people who know and got the nous to get through games. And he's one of those that has definitely got that experience. He's adding to the likes of Mark Beavers, Adrian Moke, who's recently come in as well. Marcus Carver's played at a higher level. Jack McCourt's been there as well. We've seen, quite a number of players through that spine of the Avenue team, which Craig Elliott's produced that will make a lot of teams hopefully stand up and kind of fear Avenue a bit. But I think having that vocal presence in a dressing room on and off the pitch will be a big thing. So you sometimes see players come even later on in the career at 35, 36, maybe a little bit extra, but at 31, he's pretty much, he's either just going to, his career might just slightly deteriorate in terms of what he was capable of doing 3 years ago, but at 31, he's not far from his peak. So it's an exciting time to get a player of his caliber into the building for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, for Avenue as well, the win on Friday night against Ossett United, at least for 24 hours or so, put them top of the league.
Still top of the league as well. So, yeah, it's been a decent start, and ironically, it could have been a bit more. The Matlock game, I think, was probably fair and square. The Emily draw was, is a really combative effort from both teams, but I think Emily would agree. And well, they said at the end of the game that they felt, they were not fortunate, but did very well to get a point considering the chances Avenue had. I mean, Avenue went away to Hallam and it could have been a little bit different as well. So to go 6 games unbeaten, top of the table, it's very early days, but it's just a little milestone that will go in people's favour. The weekend results with the likes of Bridge drawing went in Avenue's favour. So, I mean, you get bolstered with the likes of Adriana Moke coming in and now Lee Hendry. They're not saying the tide is turning, small steps. It's encouraging. And Avenue just needs to keep that going. And, there's some of those teams locally which are doing okay as well, which is good to see, which we need a really strong, as we keep talking about, a really strong non-league pyramid in our region. And even though it's not, like I say, we're joking because it's not necessarily deadline day, the guys have got until the end of March to get players in. You will see some signings probably drip feed through as well of when it comes to now and even January, some of those players might be disappointed that they're either not playing. So in terms of that non-league pyramid, starting at Halifax and working their way down the pyramid, you might see some of those drop further down. So Luke Hendry might not be just an anomaly. He could be one of a few.
Yeah, I mean, look, we were chatting in one of our group chats earlier, and the PFA player list, for example, for this current week of players that they've got training with them and going through, friendlies and that sort of thing is astounding. There's going to be quite a lot of what you would class as reasonable name free agents that will be available on the market for either EFL clubs at the bottom end or the National League and below going forward. And a couple of players that have become free agents, as I seamlessly segue into Bradford City, are the likes of Adam Wilson, and it's gone. I'm not quite that seamless. Remind me of the other one, Gaz?
Tyler Smith.
There we go. Tyler Smith and Adam Wilson are the outgoings at Valley Parade today, but with nowhere to go.
Yeah, it seems that way. City have obviously told them all summer that they were free to go. There was definitely a move from Barrow to take Tyler Smith back there at the start of the summer, which he turned down. He has obviously had 2 spells there, both on loan. Didn't fancy the move for whatever reason. And then the rumours regarding Adam Smith were really, really quiet. There was Adam Wilson were really, really quiet. Nothing specifically said, although after the game on Saturday, Graham Alexander hinted that there might be something happening with one of the pair of them. Didn't necessarily say where or exactly what, but it turns out that they've both had the contracts terminated by mutual consent. From a personal point of view, I'm a little bit surprised because City used to do that a lot. I say a lot. They did it more, I would say, than a lot of clubs did in settling with players and ultimately paying them to leave. And it cost the club a lot of money. And since David Sharp's come in, it's not something that we've seen happen. I thought we'd move past it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that we've done it. Obviously, the decision's been made for whatever reason it's been made. It's probably been made for the right financial reasons. I'm just a little bit surprised that we seem to have done it. That we've done it when it's something that David Sharp's not previously done well at City, and I don't think it was something that he really did at his other clubs either. In settling contracts and paying players to leave, but it makes you think, especially in Tyler Smith's case, does he regret now not taking that move to Barrow at the start of the summer? They're obviously now free agents and are free to go wherever they want to go. Clark Adore also left last week. He is the third sort of player. He was never specifically listed by Alexander as being in the same boat as Tyler Smith and Adam Wilson, although many fans had him in that boat, that he would be free to go just by the fact he wasn't making matchday squads for a considerable amount of time. He went to Grimsby on loan last week, and he's there till the end of the season. So his contract is up at the end of the season. So you would imagine we won't see him in a City shirt again either. So that's 3 outs from City over the last week.
Did he not make his debut against United?
He did.
He came on, didn't he? Yeah.
He came on as a sub.
He came up in the shootout as well.
Missed a pen in the shootout, yeah. That was his debut. Came on as a sub, like I say, missed a pen.
Some game to make your debut in that, though, and you think, oh, sorry, I'm just joining Grimsby Town on loan. I mean, pog it. Having to go to Grimsby for a start, but then to make your debut against Manchester United's going some.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player, Clarkador. He's clearly got ability. I think from a fan's point of view, that was what was frustrating with him, because he had that ability and he was somewhat languid in style and didn't always look like he ran around as much as some other players did and perhaps have the attitude. I'm not saying he didn't, because I don't know him personally, but that was the sort of feeling you got of him compared to other players. And he'd pop up with the odd goal here and there, and sometimes you'd watch him and you think he's a real player. And I think that was sort of the message we got from other clubs when we signed him, from his previous clubs, that he had the ability, but just hadn't kicked on for whatever reason. Obviously, when he came in, there were the rumour that he'd come in to play left wing back, and because that's where he'd played on loan at Hartlepool. But then he was quite adamant that he was a winger or an attacking midfielder, and that's where he ended up playing when he did feature under Graham Alexander. But they were obviously going back to the outgoings in general. They were the 3 players that most fans expected to go, and they have now all gone. Graham Alexander did say that those outgoings, any more incomings weren't dependent on those 3 leaving or on anybody leaving. So you would imagine that it's money in the pot going forward towards January and next summer. But you've just got to wish them all the best. Like I said, Wilson and Smith haven't featured for a long time, a lot longer than Clarkador. But they both... I thought Wilson was a decent enough player. He did all right at times when he played, but just hasn't featured for a long time. Sorry, mate?
He got to play in Europe last season as well, didn't he, with that low move back to TNS?
Yeah, obviously we got him from TNS. I believe we paid a fee for him. He went back there on loan and actually supposedly did really, really well there on loan last season. Like you say, played in Europe and rediscovered his old form. And like I said, when he actually featured for City, he was all right. I always thought he looked steady away. He wasn't the worst player on the pitch by any stretch of the imagination. But obviously just falling down the pecking order. Tyler Smith scored a few goals here and there, mainly in the JPT, but Virtue Motors Trophies is now, but he did miss a lot of chances. Probably be best remembered for scoring a last-minute winner away at Barrow a couple of years ago. But yeah, just got to wish them all the best now that they've gone.
As for City, what a start to the season. Let's turn attention to kind of on the pitch and the way the season's going so far. And you must be pinching yourself, surely.
Not used to it, mate. Really not used to it. And it's difficult for me because obviously I'm not somebody that...
You're a natural pessimist, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty well. Not pessimistic, just realistic, Chris, I like to say. Definitely not optimistic. Definitely not. But it's difficult because we've had such a good start. It's been really, really impressive. We've really hit the ground running. Graham Alexander says a lot of that is down to the fact that we got players in early and he's had the pre-season with most of the new signings to bed them in. We are played 6, won 4, drawn 2 in the league, still touchwood unbeaten. Now I've said that we'll probably lose at Donny on Saturday. But the 2 games that we've drawn, I was at Peterborough away 10 days ago, and we were the better side for large parts of that game. Peterborough started well first 15 minutes, finished well last 15 minutes, but for the hour in the middle, we dominated that game and probably should have been more than 1 goal up. Ended up conceding in the 91st minute and drew 1-1. So that, better side there, could have had 3 points there. And then the other game that we drew was Northampton away, which I believe was an absolutely dire game. I was on a plane going on holiday at the time, but the reports that I read when I landed was that it was an awful game. And City, again, had the only 2 real chances in the game when Curtis Tilts hit the post. And I think it was either Sarcevic or Max Power that had one kicked off the line. So we could technically be sitting here played 6, won 6. But what a start for a team coming up into League Two, from League Two into League One. You just cannot dream of a start like that, really. And long may it continue. Even in the Cup, like I said, we've played 2 championship sides in the cup. We played Blackburn in the first round and won 2-1. We played Stoke in the last round, who were top of the championship at the time. I don't know if they still are, but they were last when we played them, and turned them over 3-0 at their place. So, yeah, you really can't complain as a City fan at the moment. You've just got to make the most of it and hope that it continues for as long as possible.
Yeah, it has been quite the impressive start, Lou, and it's not one that everyone expected. Although, to be fair, Jay, I know, was looking at thinking that momentum could carry City into a good start to the season.
Yeah, you build on that momentum, don't you, from last season? I mean, crikey, City couldn't have done that in a better way by the last kick of the game, but I think even the most hardened of Bradford City fans will look at that going, we've had a really good start, and to the point where they might even be slightly disappointed of not beating Peterborough and Northampton, when on paper they're probably some of the easier fixtures. You look at who they've beaten: Wickham, playoffs last year, Luton, how strong they've been, and the list keeps on going. Stoke, like you said, in the cup, and Blackburn, and it's been remarkable. It's really good, and we don't, we can take criticism, we can take sometimes not always being right, but we did talk about Graham Alexander when he first joined, and he were getting a bit of a battering from people, and we said you've got to trust him and you can do it. Yes, it's the riding a crest of a wave so far, but he deserves, and the team that have been put together, all the credit, because Stephen Gent as well has played a vital role in getting that recruitment sorted. Ryan Sparks has got likes of David Sharp, in which Gaz has said. So they've just seemed to just tick at the right time. Football is very cyclical in that way, and it will come around at some point. Unfortunately, that City will lose a few games and it will start getting a little bit tense. That's just how it is. But at this moment in time, you just got to enjoy it. And like Gaz said, it's a phenomenal start. And is it one that's unexpected? Probably. Is it one that City can keep going? It seemed not to sound bad, maybe not, but it puts yourself in a really good position where you look at teams and you're thinking, we can beat the best of the best in that division on our day with the likes of Luton, etc. So I think it's encouraging, and I think the biggest thing is that points are on the board, which is a massive, massive thing, especially in League One and especially when you get promoted. The first thing you need to do is get your first win under the belt, and City did that in flying colours.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to quickly touch on Ian's comment before we kind of go on to a wider Bradford kind of topic, Gaz. And do you anticipate many changes tomorrow night? Of course, it's Grimsby Town in the Virtue Motors Trophy at Valley Parade tomorrow night for a 7:30 kickoff. Yeah,
I think there'll be changes. Graham Alexander's been quite vocal about the fact that he wants to learn from the start that we had to last season, where he didn't rotate the squad as much as he probably should have done or could have done, and we picked up a lot of injuries in that hectic first couple of months where you're playing twice a week. He says he's making a constant effort to do that at this time. This season. He says it's not something that he finds easy, because he's always been of the attitude from when he played that if you're playing well and you're winning games, you want to keep on playing. But he says he's got to protect the players that are feeling tightness here and there and learn from what happened last season. So I think we made 5 changes, or 5 seems to have been the magic number. We've made 5 changes in the last 2 or 3 games. I would imagine it'll be at least a similar number tomorrow night. It'd be interesting to see if any of the players that haven't featured as yet get a game tomorrow night. Will Joe Hilton get a game in goal? Sam Walker's played every game so far. Joe Hilton came in from Blackburn last January, and I would imagine he might hope to get some minutes in the Virtue Motors Trophy. And then obviously, players that have been rested Saturday will probably feature. There are a couple of injuries still knocking around. There is I don't know if it's a firm rumour, but it's a very hopeful, optimistic rumour that Andy Cook might feature tomorrow night. Andy Cook, obviously, we are told that he's been back in team training for a while now, although he was doing every other day rather than every day. I think it was dropped into an article last week that he has stepped up to the stage now where he's training with the team every single day. I know for a fact, and obviously most City fans will know, that Andy Cook is a massive Newcastle United fan. I believe all his family are. I believe his wife and her family are all Newcastle United fans. So he will be desperate to feature in that cup game in 2 or 3 weeks' time when City go up to St James's Park. That'll be a dream come true for him. So I know Graham Alexander has said that in an ideal world, they would have organised what he calls a bounce game, a behind closed doors game where Cook could have featured, but because we're playing every Tuesday at the moment, that's not been possible. So will he be tempted to give him a few minutes tomorrow night? Possibly. If he does, that's amazing. If not, then it's obviously not been the right time to do it. He's not quite ready, but he's obviously getting closer, and it'll be a proper dopamine hit when we see him back. As for City in general, I just wanted to touch on what Lou said about. Me and Lou spoke when the fixtures came out, and on paper it was a really tough start for City. Lou mentioned obviously Luton, Wickham, really, really tough start. And it's been interesting that the way we've played, it's been very, very in your face, very, very physical, very, very high press from the front. And teams such as Luton and Wickham want time on the ball, and it's helped us in that we've not, the way we play, we've been in your face. We haven't given them time on the ball. Arguably, our toughest game was on Saturday against Wimbledon, when they weren't a team that wanted time on the ball and didn't want to tick attack it and knock it about. They matched us for in-your-face intensity, physicality. And do you know what? I really enjoyed Saturday's game. It was helped by a referee who let the game flow, who didn't pull things up at the slightest opportunity. It can often be, I was talking to my dad at half time, and it can often be a case in those types of games that they can come down to what a referee sees as a foul and what he doesn't see as a foul, and what he's willing to let go and what he isn't willing to let go. And certainly the first Wimbledon goal and certainly the first City goal could easily have been disallowed by other referees, just for the challenges that were made, A, on City's centre half, and B, when the keeper comes to try and punch the ball away from a City cross into the box. But that was symptomatic of the afternoon, and there was a lot of physicality. It wasn't a nasty game at all. It was an old school game that was really enjoyable, end-to-end football, and it made for a great spectacle. And like I say, it was City's toughest game. And the Wimbledon, I listened to the Wimbledon manager after, and he was absolutely seething that they conceded 2 soft goals. And I did think on the way home that he'd be wondering how they didn't take anything from that game, and he certainly was. But yeah, really interesting, and it'll be obviously shows that we're going to go up against different styles in League One. We're going to have those tick-attacker teams, and we're going to have teams that are going to match us for intensity, and we're going to have to deal and learn with both.
It did seem like an absolutely belting game watching the highlights.
It really was, Chris. Yeah.
Lou?
I've just seen a social media post by Bradford City with a person wearing a hoodie that says new signing deadline day. Best one get through the door, apparently. So Bradford City have signed somebody.
Well, Ian is going to break the news for us. He says Tommy McIntyre has been announced. We talked about it earlier on, didn't we, Gaz? About Tom McIntyre, ex-Reading and coming from Portsmouth. And it was on the rumour mill. Looks like it's happened.
It's done. It's on the website.
Yeah, centre half on loan from, Portsmouth. Started his career at Reading. Played a lot of games at League One level. I honestly don't know much about him. You lads might know more about him than me. All I know is he's, like I said, a centre half that's played at League One and Championship level. We do have a lot of centre halves on the books. I think I counted up 7 if you include George Goodman. So this could be an 8th, although obviously Neil Byrne is injured and could be out for a while. I believe as well that Curtis Tilt possibly picked up an injury on Saturday, and Curtis Tilt's surprised a lot of people and been a really, really good player for us at the start of this season. So maybe that's tipped us to go over the line and push for this deal. He was linked last week, and obviously we've gone and got it done.
It's one of those, you can tell that it's deadline day and that it's a bit of a rush on because it's 25 past 8 and the window shows at 7 o'clock. Because the quotes from McIntyre are as short as they could be. When Bradford City came calling, I knew it was something I wanted to be a part of. It's a massive club with great history and an unbelievable fan base. I cannot wait to put on the shirt and give my all for the club. Up the Bantams. And even Graham Alexander's not had much time to do anything. It's a great to be able to bring Tom in and add to our strength and quality. He has championship experience, was involved in promotion last season, and is eager to get going. We look forward to helping him settle in and enjoy his football. Simple as that. Honestly, I wish every statement was as simple as that one with Tom McIntyre. You can tell it was just, oh crap, it's 25 past 8. He was supposed to be signed by 7.
I remember he was highly thought of at Reading, wasn't he? I think he expected to go on to really big things, wasn't he? Because he's a left-sided centre-back as well, Gaz. So
can play left back as well.
Yeah, so that obviously plays into the hands with Kieran Kelly as well. And and maybe that left-sided spot as well, which might allow Tyreek Wright, not as clever, to be playing further forward. So it seems to be quite a versatile left-sided defensive option. But yeah, I remember him being really highly regarded, and unfortunately, he's not really massively supposedly kicked on to bigger and better things in terms of going up to the top end of a championship, even bottom end of Premier League. But it's a solid signing, and you need these players, don't you, across the division, because the way that you play with three centre backs, you need that cover and versatility to play the minutes. And we said this, haven't we, how many times before? It sounds like a broken record, but Alexandra and Stephen Gent's recruitment and Sharp's is very, very good so far. The proven record is, they're hitting probably 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that's spot on. I've seen a few City fans say today, obviously on the departures of Wilson and Smith, that there's not one player in this City squad at the moment that you would say he needs to go. He's a bad signing. David Sharp's deals so far have been really, really good, and we seem to have got rid of the last couple that fans wanted rid of. It's interesting that you say he's left-sided, Lou, because that's obviously where Curtis Tilt's been playing so far this season, and I believe he picked up an injury on Saturday. He went off it, not far from the end, and didn't look comfortable at all. So that would add up if that's where he's been brought into play.
And obviously, Alexander knows, because his pedigree's been playing at centre back and right back as well in his career, so he knows what he's going to get. But what I like about Alexander's recruitment is he's prepared to get players in who are ready to go. You don't need much of a bit of an integration in terms of just getting up to speed. Everything. He's quite happy to bring proven players in, which it's a solid signing. It's a good 6, 7 out of 10 signing at this level. And he's had experience before at Charlton. We know what Charlton did. I think it's just a very shrewd and sensible signing, which is exactly the buzzwords I keep using about him. You can't fault him.
He's out of contract at the end of the season as well, which obviously makes you think if he does well, he's something we could look at to take on next season.
He's putting himself in a shop window, isn't he, either at City or elsewhere? So I think it works out for everyone, doesn't it, really? He's probably knowing he's not going to maybe play in every game, but I mean, I'm surprised Pennington's playing every game, if I'm being brutally honest.
He's another one, actually, Lou. He's injured at the moment. I totally forgot about him. He's played every game up until Saturday, and he's got an ankle injury, so didn't feature on Saturday. So with Neil Byrne, Curtis Tilt, Matt Pennington all injured,
you can see now why.
Yeah,
you can see now exactly why they've gone into market. If there's anything else over the course of the evening with Bradford City, we will, of course, bring it up. We're going to turn our attentions to Huddersfield Town, though, now. And Stephen Downs, sadly, he's away on one of his little jaunts away, with it being the summer holidays, or the end of the summer holidays, anyway. So he has sent us a little bit of a video, generally reviewing, I think, Town's game at the weekend. Of course, they lost 3-1 away at Barnsley. Absolutely no marital tiffs on that one, given that his other half is a Barnsley fan, I'm sure. I'm sure he'll tell us in the video. And then I think he's also going to be talking a little bit about Town's transfer window as well. So this is around 7.5 minutes, which allows us, lads, to go and refill our glasses and get ourselves another drink. Here's Downsy.
Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in to this transfer deadline day special as ever with the lads. Sorry I can't be there, I have a habit of missing these deadline day shows, but the lads are doing great. Just wanted to do a bit of an update on Town. Obviously we've brought in 12 players this year. We did have a number of players leave at the start of the summer, so Town really did need to rebuild, and they've done a really good job with it, I would say, given a score probably of 8 out of 10, which is pretty good for Town. Yeah, we've brought in 13 players so far, as we did make the deadline day signing of Will Alves on loan from Leicester City, an attacking player that can play sort of all across the pitch, but particularly down either side of the wing. We kind of needed him just in case Marcus Harness gets a bit of an injury. Obviously, he's a new player. So it's kind of to go through a little bit of them. Obviously, we've brought in Goodman, who got sent off at Barnsley at the weekend. But yeah, he's a goalkeeper. Obviously, came from AFC Wimbledon and did really well there last season. And started at Town okay. Not bad, obviously had a bit of an iffy day at Blackpool a couple of weeks ago, and then had a bit of a very bad match at Barnsley. Caused the first goal and then got himself sent off, which was a red card. So we've signed him, and then it was really about defensive signings for Town early on in the window with the signings of Jolo, Jack Watmore, Josh Feeney on loan from Aston Villa, who looks really good as well. So all the signings that Town have made at the back have been really good. One of the best for me has been Lyndon Gooch. So far in the Town shirt, been really impressed with him. Kind of player I really like, hard working, but with lots of quality as well. So I really like Lyndon Gooch. So Town really did need to make some signings at the back with the likes of Tom Lees, Matty Pearson, who have been at the club for a while, leaving. And then, the first signing that we made actually was in midfield with Ryan Ledson from Preston North End. Really top quality midfielder. Obviously, with Jonathan Hogg leaving, we kind of needed a grit in midfield, and Ledson gives us that. Good on the ball, probably better than Hoggy on the ball, but just as determined and loves a tackle. So Ledson, really good player. And then you're looking at kind of your attacking players, and kind of we had to wait a little bit for them in the window, but Marcus Harness came in from Ipswich, obviously a player that Lee Grant knows really well, having worked with him at the Tracks Boys. Harness been good so far. Looking forward to seeing a little bit more from him in a Town shirt, in terms of hasn't really scored yet or assisted, I don't think. But I'm looking forward to seeing more from Marcus. And then, we brought in, like I said, Will Alves today, who, looks like he's a decent signing. There might be one more for Town, sort of in the tall striker department. Depends whether that goes down really to the wire. They were looking at a lad from Aston Villa in Redmond, but whether that gets done, who knows. I think we possibly do need a taller striker. Obviously, people will say, well, you've got Freddie Ladapo or Radulovic there, but whilst Radulovic has played, and I think he's a useful player still, obviously Grant isn't as keen, and the thing with Freddie Ladapo is he's not been involved at all. He kind of was in pre-season, but he hasn't been since. So, we probably do need a taller sort of striker. Dion Shaw's not doing the business at the moment, but he's of the same sort of bulk and height of Taylor. Of course, Alfie May, we got over the line, sort of probably the biggest signing of the summer, 1.2 million, coming in from Birmingham. Really, really pleased to get Alfie, and he's obviously a top quality League One player, knows where the back of the net is, and it works incredibly hard for the team. That's something that's self-evident, really, since he's been in the door. But I'd say 8 out of 10 for Town. I don't think there's much that they've got wrong. Like I said, they are trying to get some loans in, and probably that tall big striker is the only thing that's kind of missing. Depth is good, I think, for Town, which is a major thing, because you look at the bench now and you can actually see options on the bench. I remember a season or two ago where, never mind the starting 11 not being good enough, the bench was absolutely horrific. Obviously, as well as they're not new signings, but when you've got Cameron Asher doing well and Jayson, lads that are coming up from the academy, that makes a big difference as well. So Town have got plenty of options, probably an over-inflated squad, but then when you look at it, people like Radulovic and Ladapo aren't getting game time. I can see them maybe leaving in the last hour or so, but I'm impressed with Town. I think, listen, it's going to be hopefully a good season. Won 4 out of our first 6 games in the league. Obviously won 2 cup games against Sunderland and Leicester, which has been really good. albeit on penalties, but win's a win. And overall, I think, at the weekend it was disappointing against Barnsley. And coming up, we've got the under-21s against Newcastle, and then Peterborough at home. Obviously, that's an interesting game for Town fans with the history of Town v Peterborough. But the bottom of the table, they're absolutely rubbish. So I'm hoping Town can get back on track and put to bed the bad performance at Oakwell and give us something to cheer on Saturday. But yeah, hope everything is all right with all the lads on the stream. Hope you're enjoying the stream, by the way. Please like, subscribe the channel. We really do love your support. Please do get involved.
There we go. That was our very own Stephen Downs and his take on Huddersfield. And actually, as if by magic, during the course of watching Downs' pre-recorded interview, in which he mentioned a man on loan from Aston Villa, Huddersfield have announced the signing of Zepigenio Redmond. Yeah, what an exotically wonderful name that is. He's a 19-year-old Dutchman. He's 6 foot tall. I mean, I don't know if that's as tall as Downs was wanting, given what he was saying in the video about wanting a big man. But yeah, another arrival through the doors of the John Smith Stadium, Lou, and it's another man in the forward options.
I think he must have sent something in his waters, hasn't he, to say that somebody were going to come in at some point. But it's a deep squad that Huddersfield have got now. He's definitely got plenty of options to play with his Lee Grant. He's been playing almost a bit of a second 11 in the Carabao Cup, which has got him up really well. I can imagine some of those players will be playing tomorrow night against Newcastle's academy as well. So it's a big squad that he's got to play with. And when you're winning games, it's okay. It's again when the stuff gets going, how that's going to look. But yeah, striking options, we've got a fair few now. And, on paper with the likes of Joe Taylor, Charles, Alfie May, some of the better strikers in League One. It's going to be interesting to see where Redmond fits. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about the kid. I won't pretend I will. But what I can say is that squad is looking healthy. And so far, it's proving dividends. But it's going to be a challenge to keep everybody happy, I think, until January.
I mean, let me help you with some of the background very quickly, as I've just been doing whilst Downs' video was on. So we're going from Feyenoord this summer. Is a Netherlands youth international under 16s, 17, 18s, and 19s levels. We're still playing for the youth side. And that's the fact that he's joined from Feyenoord. His youth career's got a couple of decent clubs with prestige as well, like Zvado Den Haag in there. Certainly his upbringing and the fact that he's a youth international for the Netherlands, Gaz, certainly suggests that he'll be able to add something to the party, as well as just a difficult to pronounce first name.
Yeah, I was doing exactly the same as you, Chris. I was researching him while Downs' video was on, because I saw the notification pop up that they completed the deal. He's played in the top level in Holland for Feyenoord. He's played in the Eredivisie, or however you pronounce it. My pronunciation's correct.
You got that.
Played 4 times for them before he moved to Villa this summer. I think what's good for Huddersfield fans is, based on what Downs has said, he's obviously a bit more of a target man. Downs has been quite clear that that's what they lack up front, although then he did say in that video that Radulovic and Ladapo can play that role. Obviously, they're deemed as not good enough or surplus to requirements. I know he was quite adamant after the Blackpool game, when Blackpool had gone down to 10 men, that a target man type striker, someone that could attack balls into the box, would have made a difference in that game. So if he is that player, then he's what they need, isn't he? And should fulfill that role for them.
I mean, looking from the outside, Lou, on Huddersfield, like on the whole, obviously they've been the league's big spenders, so I'm going to continue to wind Downsy up about that. I mean, to be fair, it hasn't been anywhere near a Birmingham City of last season, but I reckon you could take a fairly well-educated guess that them being probably certainly a top 6 budget, and probably top 6 in terms of the transfer fees spent, and in particular the increase in wages spent in this squad compared to previous seasons.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it always helps to have that extra little bit of money, doesn't it, to get those players in. I would say I think Town have probably got a top 3, top 4 squad now. I think their recruitment again on paper looks very decent. I tipped them before. Some of them signings came in that they might just finish outside, but the likes of Alfie May, that's a potential game change. Some of the players they are bringing in, obviously Ledsman, Watmuth, a big players, I think, for this level. I'm looking through that squad and that midfield, arguably, in what they've got of Ledson, Wiles, Miller, Kane, McGuane, Kasumu, Evans, Castledine. That is pretty much any team in the division would take 80%, 90% of them players and start them. You're looking at that strike force of what they've now got, which we mentioned with a new lad, Redmond, coming in, as well as him, Taylor, Harness, Charles, Alfie May. Then you've got Aisha coming in and scored a couple of goals as a substitute. Radulovic, who cost them a bit of money, and Ladapa were a deemed surplus to requirements potentially. That is a very, very strong squad. I go as far to say they're on a similar wavelength as the likes of Luton and Stockport in terms of the actual depth they've got. So, listen, they've spent a little bit of money. There's no hiding that fact, and that's what they're prepared to do. And if you've got it, you can spend it. But what they have to do is make it count. And so far, they've had a decent enough start in the league. Grant, he seems an impressive bloke from the outside looking in. Still got a little bit still to prove, despite it being early in the season. But so far, seems to be going well at Town. And there's a lot of pressure, I think, on Town to do well now with the signings they've made. There's a lot of people looking at them now and going, actually, they should be in the top 3.
You spot on.
Yeah. Go on, Gaz.
Just exactly what you said there. They are in the bracket with your Lutons and your Plymouth. I know Plymouth have had a dodgy start, but the money that they've spent, they have to be one of the favourites to take automatic promotion. I've talked often on this stream about League One being a division of haves and have-nots. Well, they're definitely in the haves. They've got a multi-billionaire owner who has backed the manager big time this transfer window, probably more so than 80% of the division. There's only those teams that have come down from the Championship that can spend that kind of money, along with maybe Stockport, like you say. I think that they bounced. What we talked last time I spoke to Downsy, we talked about it being a season of sort of tests for Huddersfield, in that they've got a new group that will be tested in different ways throughout the year. They obviously, one of those tests was after they'd lost to Blackpool, in can they bounce back from a defeat, or are they going to go on a run of not winning for a while? Well, they did. They bounced back well and they won the next game, but they've got another one to overcome on Saturday or tomorrow, whenever they play in the JPT, because they lost again at Barnsley in a local derby, and obviously they lost the goalkeeper, so their goalkeeper is now going to be suspended, and Lee Nichols will come in and play while Owen Goodman's suspended. Obviously, Lee Nichols played, I believe, in the shootout victory that they had over Sunderland in the League Cup, so he's not a bad backup to have. But when you're relying on not just bouncing back from a defeat, but also relying on your reserve goalkeeper for a few games, that's another test for them to overcome, or for a new manager in his first role to overcome. So it'll be interesting to see how they go, but they have to be, like you said, the pressure's on them. They've spent the money now. They've got to go and do the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, they signed Will Alves earlier on today as well to Huddersfield. And then around 20 minutes or so ago, it was also announced there was an outgoing for Huddersfield, with Neo Eccleston joining Grimsby. I'm just trying to see if that is a permanent or a loan. It's a season-long loan for the 21-year-old who has joined Grimsby Town on loan from Huddersfield. Shortly, we'll be joined by Stephen Browne and Jayson Boocker to get their take on. Now, I'm not sure why we've got any of them on at this point, because there's nothing for them to talk about with Leeds United persuasion. But I'm sure there'll be great frustration about the window on show all round. I mean,
they wanted to do their own show, Chris. We've saved them from that. They'd have had an hour-long show with nothing to talk about.
Yeah, They wanted to go off and do a Leeds United transfer deadline day special, expecting 3, 4, 5 new arrivals, and then they've done absolutely bugger all, which I'm sure that, as I say, they'll be less than pleased about. I mean, looking at deadline day on the whole, then, from the Premier League right the way down, it seems to have been an extremely busy day. I'm going to start, though, with my frustration at the window shutting at 7 o'clock. What the hell is that all about? I'm not a fan of this. Not a fan of this early finish for the Sky Sports News journalists and for us. I mean, we've had some cracking streams in the past. We've been set up to. I say we. I don't think either of you two have been set up at 1 a.m. finishing the streams with us, but you just there's something more special, I think, about a proper deadline day deadline being later on. But what it has done, I mean, the Scots have got it right. I know you're going to hate me saying that, Lou. But the Scots, their window, 11 o'clock. But they're about the only one in Europe, I think. We've come into line, basically, with Germany, France, Spain, and Italy, by the looks of it, all shutting at 7 o'clock.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've got to be choosing my words carefully. Maybe some of those teams may need a bit of extra time to improve their squads. Mentioning no names, yeah. After this last week's trials and tribulations in Europe, I mean, some of the signings are starting to come through now on transfer deadline. I think Spurs getting Maweny from Paris Saint-Germain on loan is a great signing on loan. I mean, that's a really decent one. Hoyland's completed his loan move to Napoli. So no doubt he'll flourish like McTominay. Yeah, it's. I just think potentially the transfer of a day. Maybe not in terms of. I'm not massive familiar in terms of ability, but just for somebody called Kevin to sign in the Premier League is peak. I'm having that. I'm absolutely having that.
From Shakhtar Donetsk to Fulham. And I think I saw on Twitter earlier. It's about 35 million.
He deserves it for just the name of Kevin. It's superb.
Fulham are paying for Kevin, Big Kev. Just glanced actually in Paul's on a couple of things. Apparently, deals yet to be announced. Manuel Akanji is eligible to go from Manchester City to Inter Milan. Ilkay Gundogan is going from Manchester City to Galatasaray. I mean, talking at the top of the Premier League, Manchester City letting a couple of what you would class, and let's be honest, Akanji in particular is a cracking defender. He's not even old, but letting a couple of fairly big names go there.
As the Akanji deal, where's he due to be going? Sorry, were you asking Lou that? Or were you asking me that?
Both of you. I was just throwing it out there to both of you. Akanji is set to go to Inter Milan. I don't know whether it's a loan or a permanent. You would imagine at this hour probably a loan, but yeah, Inter Milan.
Yeah, they're a funny side, aren't they, Man City? They just don't seem to be replacing the quality that they've had before with quality to come in. And I mean, they were really impressive in that first game of the season, but then they've gone and lost the last two to Spurs and Brighton. Akanji was, I believe, linked with quite a few different clubs this window and turned down moves in a similar way to what other players have done. I think he was linked with Spurs. He was definitely linked with Palace as a Gueye replacement. Obviously, that deal's not gone through. Yeah, I believe it isn't Edison being linked with a move to Turkey as well. I think.
Yeah, Edison's supposedly Galatasaray bound as well as Gundogan. Obviously, it all depends if Donnarumma ends up joining Manchester City from PSG, of course. Brownie's there, so I'm just going to bring Brownie in. Brownie, we just talked about Premier League transfers, mate. So you can probably drop out if you want, mate.
It's been a good show. See you later, fellas. Loved it. Thanks for having me on.
I mean, we were talking about teams at the top of the Premier League then, and with Leeds' lack of activity, where do you think you'll be at this rate? I mean, come on, Brownie, you must have had, I'm going to be honest, a pretty boring, frustrating day, I'm guessing, just scrolling Twitter and getting nowhere.
Yeah. So I had a sinking feeling. I said this to Jay I think it was after the Arsenal game or something. I thought we'd only do one more. And I think most Leeds fans were looking at 2, 3, and some very optimistic people were saying 4 new players coming in. I thought they would only get 1 in at most. They've not even done that. Daniel Farke came out against after the Newcastle game, said we need at least 2. We need at least 2 quality additions in attacking positions added. Yeah, exactly. Still, which is what I flashed up.
I deliberately kept that to hand from your previous lead stream the other day because I was like, that is going to come being very useful tonight.
Yeah. And he's spoken in strong terms about it, and he's said it all summer. It's not like all of a sudden it's got to the last week of the window. He's like, I think we need some attacking additions. He's said it all along, and the recruitment team have had 2 months, 3 months, whatever, to give him what he needs, and instead it's ended like this, which is, I mean, it's you know, it's a stinker. It's an absolute stinker. To get nobody in is absolutely appalling. Absolutely appalling. And there's kind of rumours going around that Leeds had agreed a deal with Fulham for Wilson, and then they pulled the plug on it. And it's like, don't leave yourselves in that position. And I don't care, to be honest. I don't want the excuses of, oh, we had a deal agreed and then they pulled out. You know, it's like, get it done. Just get stuff done.
What I can't understand, though, Browne, is that Harry Wilson in the position that you're actually one of the stronger ones. Like, I know you still need strength in depth across the park, and he would have probably been a decent enough signing, but that shouldn't have been your key focus of attention. Your key focus is out-and-out strikers and a number 10. I'm baffled why they've gone for someone like Wilson.
Wait, just to put this in context, we have the same amount of goalkeepers registered as strikers, and one of those strikers is 16-year-old Harry Gray. So that just tells you I think part of the problem has been we've not been able to get people off the books. Our only activity today was getting rid of Darko JB. The striking position, I mean, that, you know, what's happened there? What's happened there? We were, as Jay said when he's been on before, you know, Calvert-Lewin coming in was the replacement for Joseph. We were always expecting to get a striker in, and it's not happened. Anybody watching Dan James at the weekend, you know, he's our only natural right winger. He's our only natural right winger, and that's it.
So there was definite logic actually in going in for Harry Wilson.
There was.
It's just a case of you need to be going in for Harry Wilson plus, as you said, others, and obviously to come away in there with nothing. I mean, what is it that's allegedly happened with the Harry Wilson deal in particular? Where's it fallen through?
So there was not. I didn't hear anything about Wilson until today, and then all of a sudden it kind of was picking up. Apparently, I think Popey has said that we had a deal in place or something. Now Fulham were chasing those other wingers, and they've just left us on red, haven't they? Really, they've just left us there, and you know, we'll see how it goes. We might respond here.
Are you saying you've been ghosted?
Ghosted
by Fulham.
Well, Fulham have had our pants down all summer, though. I mean, we've chased monies for all summer, like we were linked, and you know, we've been waiting for deals. It seems like that we've not been in control of, and it's hard not to look enviously over at Sunderland, who had the striker from Chelsea recalled, and then a day later, the morning after, they announced they've got a new striker that's coming in here. And I'm watching Leeds just sit there and do absolutely nothing.
Is it Brian Broby from Ajax? I think that, I've not seen, has that definitely gone through? Because I haven't seen anything, but I did see earlier that, they'd agreed like a £21.7 million fee for him. I mean, that in itself, if that goes through, is a fantastic deal because he's some talent. He really is.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, this is just going to feel like a bit of a Leeds bashing, I think, for the remainder of it. But it must be bloody tough, and it must have been, as you said, time and time again over the course of the window. You look at Sunderland and Leeds, and this is chalk and cheese. And I appreciate the finances and PSR are different. And I also appreciate that Sunderland, to be fair, did vastly need to improve their squad more so than even Leeds did. But just to be in the position that you've been in over the last week or so of a deadline, to get to this point on deadline day and still be left with nothing, while Sunderland are continuing to make moves and try and get bodies in, is baffling.
My gut feeling with this is PSR has hampered us, and I think they were expecting to get more outgoings. So they've had to cancel Patrick Bamford's contract, and I think just to make space on the wage budget. So yes, they've had to pay, mutual fee or whatever to get rid of him. But
who else could you have seen going though?
Well, this is a problem, Mellier.
Astoundingly,
Mellier is still a contracted player for Leeds United. They got rid of the young lad JB, but no fee for Joseph. We've let Ramazani go. Now, if you watch anything, it's a mad one. Now you're looking at it going, that is absolutely bonkers, because now you're short on the wings. We're actually weaker, arguably, than last year, depending on how Okafor does. But this is it. We've basically generated bugger all transfer fees, and I think they were expecting that there'd be a little bit more interest, or maybe someone comes in with an offer for Peru, maybe Strike, maybe they were expecting to get a bigger sale, but there's been, I mean, I can't remember it ever being so quiet. I mean, in terms of outgoings, there's just been barely anything at all.
But we've had to beg
people. We've had to beg people to
beginning,
pick up
didn't we?
players.
We said it right at the beginning, Brownie, didn't we, though, in terms of, I think pre-seasoning, we did one of the shows, or whether I won with you or Jay or whoever, but there wasn't one with respect of anybody that were really standing out from a Leeds perspective that was going to get you potentially 50 million plus. You've already done that business in the past, so even from the outside looking in, that wasn't really going to happen unless somebody had a freakish start to the season and blew everybody away, then somebody come with a crazy bid. I'm saying it because Asula was rumoured with Frankfurt for 30 million. That's kind of what you wanted, probably, for something to happen like that, where you could generate that money, but that hasn't happened, and you didn't really see that materialising either.
No, exactly. And I think that's limited him, because when you actually look at it, Burnley, Burnley are in a better position PSR-wise, because part of their 3-year cycle includes a Premier League year as well, more Premier League years than Leeds. Sunderland obviously had, such a low spend on their squad. They had such a massive kind of, part to go on. Whereas Leeds are probably the worst of the three. But even despite that, it's just been an absolute nightmare to the window. And I personally think that we're going to get relegated. If I had to put money on it now, I think we'll get relegated, because we do not look like scoring a goal. I don't know where we score goals from. I don't know who's scoring the goals. We've signed 2 injury-prone strikers with poor goal-scoring records. The winger that we've just signed, he's got a poor injury record as well. He's already injured. Where are the goals coming from? We scored 1 open play goal. Well, no, we've scored no open play goals. We scored 1 penalty. Obviously, we've been playing, 2 Champions League teams, but we don't look like scoring. We didn't look like scoring at the weekend. So I'm confused as to where it's going. And do you know what? I'll just say this just before you come in. I'll just say this. It won't happen, but I'd respect Farker if he walked away. I really would.
I could understand that to a point. I was just going to say you're struggling for goals. As Gavin and Nick have said, Josh Browne held on free. He was Burnley's top scorer last season.
Yeah. We'll probably end up doing. I mean, the free market can be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know who else is out there, to be fair. I don't know what other higher profile, certainly higher than Josh Browne Hill, what other high profile free transfers there might be from Europe or something. But Christ,
Bamford's coming back.
yeah. At this time, pick up the phone to Paddy.
We've released Tyler Smith, if you fancy him.
Oh, it's going to get to that point, Gaz, I tell you. You got his number. You got his number.
It's interesting that you should say about walking away, because there are stories tonight that's what Glasner's threatened to do at Palace. He's basically said, if you sell Gahey, then I'm walking. So this is what it comes down to, isn't it? At the end of the day, people are putting these ultimatums out there, and you might well be right, Brownie. Maybe that is something that he says further out, especially if you get to January. He's going to have to say, we need to do this in January, or I'm going.
Well, he's on a hiding to nothing. He's already regarded by a lot of the fan base as not good enough for the job.
Yeah,
he's explicitly said what he thinks he needs to make it work, and we've not delivered it. He's on a hiding to nothing, basically. A few bad results, against Fulham, Wolves, and if we can't put the ball in the back of the net, we're not going to win games. He's going to get sacked anyway. So I think after what's happened, I wouldn't blame him. I think fair enough. I think probably I don't think he would do it, because obviously it's still a huge opportunity for him, even against the odds as it is, and I don't think he gets another Premier League job. But I wouldn't blame him, because I think he's pretty much on a hiding to nothing now.
He really is, because you've got Leeds fans who are waiting for it to go wrong for him to go anywhere. And I don't think it's just Leeds fans. There's other fans from the outside, like you said. You said before, people said he's not good enough for the Premier League.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm one of those people, though. And look, I've said this to Brownie, and I've said this to Jay in the past. I can understand the viewpoint, to be fair, of some fans that are like, we could do better than Farker, and it all comes down to patience, I think, to a point, doesn't it, in terms of how quickly these things happen, and obviously fans are impatient at the best of times. But yeah, I mean, Lou, what do you, just probably let you get off, mate? What do you kind of make of the situation today and Farker's position, and as Brownie said, Brownie was like, he wouldn't blame Farker for walking away. Not that he thinks he will, but he wouldn't blame if he did.
My trip into my new place of work is going past Ellen Road, and it was very quiet. So I didn't want to tempt fate and text the lads going, it's very closely quiet.
Did you not see anyone loiter around the Mackies by Ellen Road at all? Nobody in blacked out Mercedes or.
I was down the M621, and I'm like, it's very quiet. I was looking, thinking, is anybody? Even when I was coming home, I had a quick look over when it was safe to do so, and there's nobody there.
Just a big banner outside Ellen Road saying you can go to bed now. It's okay.
Yeah, turn the lights off. What do I think of it? I still stand by what I said a few weeks ago in terms of I felt Leeds needed a bit extra to survive, and I don't think that's changed. I think even a loan signing of Solomon would have just put a sticky plaster over it, but it would have helped just for the short term, just to appease something with it. I see a very similar situation to Browne. I think Browne is not far off at all. I think PSR's come into it. I think we've tried to work hard in the background, and for whatever reason, something's not pulled off. Harry Wilson's been a bit of a last chance saloon at getting somebody in. It's just too late to really get that business done for somebody like that. But I watched the game back because I wasn't able to watch it live on a Saturday, and it was two teams who just didn't look like scoring. And I don't think that's going to be any different, unfortunately, for Leeds, where, Calvert-Lewin will do something, but he won't do everything. He's an option. He's not the solution. And I think Leeds are going to be on the edge. I do. Nothing's changed from what I said a few weeks ago, unfortunately, which is a shame because they have the capability of doing it. Because you look at home, even, they played reasonably well against Everton, played reasonably well against us on Saturday. That with a striker, we could have won that. Arguably Newcastle could have done, but it was like for like. That Ellen Road is going to be a tough place to go, but it's only a tough place to go when you can score goals. Defensively, they look okay for the Premier League, steady enough. Probably 12th to 16th-ish. But I think in that final third, we're going to be somewhat lacking. And, even though Burnley have got a bit of, wiggle room, I still expect them to be down. And I still think Sunderland, even though they've had a decent start, for whatever reason, I just can't see maintaining it. I hope not, but I don't think they will. I think the biggest... I think Farker's probably, in terms of Farker's position, before I go, Farker's probably given himself a little bit of a pass with his comments to Leeds fans. I think there's an element of being on the side of the fans to give him a little bit of extra time and patience with that, because he knows he might not be as universally liked as others have been in the past. So he's probably doing his best in that regard. He's also speaking the truth, let's be honest. I think that's fair. January, like I say, I think it's going to be really interesting. Is are we able to get people in or work on deals ahead of January? In fact, they can hit the ground running rather than leaving it to the last minute. And before I leave, my final parting shot is Eric Ten Hag just been sacked by Leverkusen. ...
Could do a lot worse.
Oh God!
Could do a lot
and on that bombshell, have a great one, chaps. Sorry to bring that one to you.
Great to see you, Lou.
See you, Lou, mate.
Have a good one, guys. Enjoy.
Thanks a lot, Lou. I mean, look, the managerial merry-go-round is going to just keep going and going, and the more managers that become available, as we've already seen with the likes of Solskjaer and Mourinho leaving from their jobs in Turkey, Ten Hag's a bizarre one. 2 months in the job, 3 games in total. He won in a cup game. They lost at home to Hoffenheim on the opening day in the league, and then they were 3-1 up against Werder Bremen on Saturday, and then ended up drawing 3-3 away. But even that doesn't seem anywhere remotely like sacking form, even at that early stage. So yeah, it's a very odd one. Very odd.
They've lost a ton of players, haven't they, as well, to be fair?
Yeah.
Like to Liverpool, mainly.
I mean, let's just have a quick look. I mean, Gavin Parry says Farker won't walk because he's never linked with other jobs. I mean,
Yeah, well, the thing is, he's not. I mean, I don't. There's not another Premier League team that would hire him. I don't think. Although,
No,
I think it's just. I mean, it's a shame because against New. I think we were all sections of Leeds fan, questioning Farker, but the way they performed against Newcastle at the weekend, he adapted, got a great result. He's got 4 points from 9. Played 2 Champions League games. We've not conceded a goal at home. That's not bad. That's a very, very decent start. Delighted with the start. And I like Farker. I wanted him to kind of prove the doubters and the naysayers wrong. But they've not given him the tools now. They've not given him the tools, in my opinion. So I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. I don't know where you go. You can talk about January. Forget it, because it's just too hard in January.
But it almost feels, though, like... And this is going to sound mental, I appreciate, but it almost feels like he's being set up to fail now by the 49ers. Like, you can, especially given how strong the window started for Leeds, I thought, with the Pujol signing, the Bourne signing, was like, these are very good quality players. If Leeds can keep this up, then they could be in for a really, really exciting window. And then it just seems to have stopped and died about 4 weeks ago, really, with the excitement. And it's. I mean, did we misjudge things at the back end of last season? Because I remember us talking on the show, and we certainly were a lot more confident in PSR for Leeds at the time, because we were like, Leeds are going to have a war chest of 150 million to spend, sort of thing. And what is the total, roughly, give or take, that Leeds have spent, do you think?
I think it's about 100. It's about 100 that they've spent. And very little outgoings. Maybe they've made 10 million or something.
That's the problem, and that's what it comes down to as well, isn't it? Is if you got 20 million from Elliot, that could have been another body in easily.
Yeah, but the high. I mean, I think we paid about. Did we pay about 15 million for Okafor, or I think maybe Stack at 17 million's the highest transfer fee we've paid. So we're not broken the bank for anyone. We were on about getting that Igor Pajau for. I think that was going to be 30 million odd fee. You go, well, where's that money gone? You were about to pay. You had a deal agreed for 30 million for Pajau. So naturally, fans are going to go, well, where's that to go somewhere else? Then why is it now suddenly about that and has not been able to afford it? But we don't know how the club are going to spin it. I don't even know if there'll be any communication about it. 49ers tend to work in silence. They don't do much anyway in terms of communication with the fans. So I'm not sure if we'll actually get to the bottom of why this has happened. It's just really bizarre to do absolutely nothing, to be left in this position. I'm surprised. I was more pessimistic than most. I thought we'd only do 1, but to do 0, I'm absolutely gobsmacked. And it's been a frustrating day, refreshing the Twitter feed and waiting for something to drop, and it just not happening.
Never did. A big welcome to Jayson Boocker. Thanks for joining, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, rushing around and trying to enjoy deadline day as much as you possibly can as a Leeds fan, and just standard typical, almost like. It's funny because we've not had a bad summer window under the 49ers. Like they've always come through. I mean, last year we signed 2 on deadline day. The year before that we signed 3. And not that you should have to rely on deadline day, but when you get to that point, you do what you need to do. And we have really, really dropped the ball. I've been very defensive of them and kind of understood the difficulties that comes with, first off, improving the squad. And secondly, dealing with transfers at the best of times is difficult, and then PSR limits and all the rest that comes with it. But it's hard to defend them when Sunderland have Matt Gui recalled yesterday and then go out and sign Broby today for 17 million quid. And we've been saying all summer that we need a number 9. And I would argue that Broby is more, he's fitter than the 2 that we've signed. He's more, more available, and he's probably a better option than the 3 that we've got. And they've gone out and just done that at the drop of an hat. And I'm like, well, I can't defend this. They've gone out and made, I think it's 3 today. Burnley have signed 1, and others down there have all gone and done business. They've all been in action. 3 weeks ago, Daniel Farker said that this squad needed more reinforcements in the attacking areas. Since then, we've signed Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Noah Okafor and released Pat Bamford and let Ramazani go out on loan. So we've basically replaced like for like. And as much as I think Calvert-Lewin's a better option than Pat, you'd almost argue would have been better just keeping Pat and signing a player that we needed in the creative 10 role or the right side of midfield that can be that creative spark that we clearly desperately need. So I'm just sat scratching my head, and then we find ourselves in a situation on deadline day where we now all of a sudden after Harry Wilson, and I don't mind it as an option. I don't. I think he'd have improved the squad and he'd have given us something a little bit different. But look at what's happening around us with some of the deals and the quality, and then we're scratching around for it at the last minute after what I do think we've been a little bit unfortunate. I know I'm talking non-stop, but I've needed to get this off my chest all day as well. Brighton agreed to let us have Buonanotte. That looks like it's done. He then does a massive U-turn after we've agreed the Ramazani loan, which then means that we can't recall Ramazani back, and he then goes to Chelsea, which I think is a terrible move for him, but that's by the by. And then we find ourselves in a situation with Harry Wilson on deadline day where Fulham kind of treat us with complete disrespect. But the fact is all these other teams are making deadline day deals happen. Why is Adam Underwood unable to make them happen for Leeds?
Well, sorry to chip in. This is what I want. I want to get your take on this, because it's different people working on the recruitment from last year in terms of Adam Underwood driving it, Robbie Elliott, in that kind of executive role as well. So great work in the past that we've done as a recruitment team, and we openly talked about this as well. We said, it's a bit of a weird time for things to be changing at that, when you're going into the Premier League. I mean, this, Adam Underwood, we could be turning around going, oh my God, what a massive mistake that has been, putting someone who's never worked in a sporting role in charge of your recruitment when you're going into the Premier League. Now, I agree with Jay. We've done some great work in this transfer window, but the critical part has been a failure. The manager said all summer, and particularly in the last 3-4 weeks, I need more quality in attack, and we've not delivered anything. I mean, to not get one is,
The window started well, didn't it, Browne? And the way that we came out of the block started well. But if you then look at us in comparison to what Everton have done, I know Everton have got a little bit of a different leash, but the boys at the top were our boys last year. It's a complete contrast in terms of the quality that they've been able to bring in to change the squad. Daniel Farke said a few weeks ago we're arguably worse off in the attacking areas than we were last season. That was before we signed Okafor. But we could still make that same argument. There is an argument to say that Manor Solomon is better than Noah Okafor. We don't know that yet. I really like Manor Solomon. Everybody that's watched this, us talk Leeds United knows that I really like Manor Solomon. He was arguably our best player from January onwards. And we've ended up replacing him with somebody that's a bit unproven and been really injury plagued. So, the attacking side of things, I mean, Calvert-Lewin and Metch, I suppose, do improve us from the 9 position. They're both better than Joseph and probably Bamford, but it's not enough of an upgrade in comparison to some of the others. And
it also seems the depth is a bit of a killer as well, or the lack of, potentially, because obviously I know Pat, Richard Bamford and Ramazani.
We've got depth. We've got 4 goalkeepers. What are you on about?
You've got more goalkeepers than strikers, though, and that's your problem, as you said beforehand. I mean,
Pepe Reina once played in midfield in a pre-season friendly, so you could always try that.
Get him in.
I don't think the depth is as bad as we've had it before. I think the squad depth is lesser of an issue than the outstanding quality that we've got or not got. Like, I look at this team and I'm looking for somebody to call upon when it gets difficult. Last season we had Manor Solomon. Previously within the Leeds ranks, we've had Rafinha. When we went down, we didn't have one of them. We looked for Jack Harrison to pull us through it, or Rodrigo when he was fit. This team doesn't have that at the minute. It doesn't have the X factor, somebody that'll just get you out of trouble. Maybe it could be Noah Okafor, but we don't know that. I'm really worried because I mean I've maintained with Browne, and Brownie's ended up being more right than he wishes to have been, and I was completely wrong. I thought there'd have been 2 or 3 done today. I really did, or before the end of the window, and to have come out of it with none, I'm really worried. I'm worried about the process in which we ended up sending Ramazani out on loan. As much as I'm not his greatest fan, and I think he'd have ended up playing 3rd or 4th choice backup. How have we found ourselves in a situation where we've let him go out on loan because we thought we had his replacement in Buonanotte and it not be done? And then we don't make up for that in any way, shape, or form. I mean, it's mental. And I think there's going to be a message that you guys on the way home. I think there'll be a desperation free transfer that'll come in on the back of this, and I think we'll end up bloody paying Josh Browne an absolute fortune to come in. And there'll be worse 10s that we could have got, but he's been offered 100 grand a week by Saudi. And I can just see it. I can see it now.
Yeah, I mean, surely not. It's not going to come to that. I mean, just Gaz, I know you need to get off in a few minutes' time. Comparatively, Liverpool's window, great, yeah.
Liverpool and Bradford's. It's the way forward, mate. Be a 2-team wanker. No, I know exactly. I know exactly what you're saying, because we talked about it a few weeks ago when we met up, and Brownie told me how many he thought you needed, and you've got closer and closer to the deadline, and we all know how you feel. Where do you think the main issue is? Brownie said goals, Jay. Do you think that's the issue?
As in the lack of?
Yeah.
I think the creativity to create the goal-scoring chances is a bigger problem than the goals themselves.
Really?
Yeah, I truly believe that if let's just say we get 30 games out of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, right? I think he would be able to score the goals. Him, Mecha, Piron, a conjunction of them. The problem is that we're not creating enough of them gilt-edged chances because we don't have that creativity spark. We have industrial wingers like Jack Harrison, like Willie Gnonto, like Dan James, who will huff and puff. But we're watching the games at the moment, and our creativity is coming through Jayden Bogle, who's our right back.
Yeah.
We haven't even got, but we haven't even got really a replacement for Joe Rothwell and what Rothwell could do. Even someone who can pick the ball up and drive through the middle of the park and set. Maybe Stack. Yeah, maybe Stack will be that. But it's kind of startling, and I mean, it'll be fascinating to hear what Farke comes out and says now. It really.
Sorry to just keep. I'm just catching up with everything. Forest have just confirmed Zinchenko on loan from Arsenal. At the last,
and they've recently just said it's just been unveiled that they've signed the Brazilian left back from Botafogo as well.
Yeah, I've seen that. Forest have done about 4 or 5 deals today. They're going to get Backward over the line as well through a deal sheet, and then they signed somebody else today. That Zinchenko deal's not even been murmured all window, all day. If they're capable of going out and getting Zinchenko to come in alone, how are we not capable of getting somebody to just fill that role? How can that? I'm kind of just left scratching my head thinking, you must not have any contacts. You must just not really have your finger on the pulse. I read something earlier that really made me laugh as well, that Goulavogé had been partly responsible for assigning Mecha and Bornau. Goulavogé, who was a free transfer, basically sat on our bench all last season.
He's put in a good word, yeah. Because he was obviously at Wolfsburg with them.
Yeah, and then the noise today was that the Harry Wilson transfer was the same through the Welsh lads. So what is the recruitment team doing?
People used to laugh at that at Bradford, the people used to say, we only sign people who the manager knows or who the recruitment guy knows. But to think that it might be happening in the Premier League is another level.
Not just that, the Premier League in 2025, with the transfer market as mental as it is now.
Do you know what I thought they would have done in the attacking areas? I thought they would have, we'd have signed some, I don't know, someone from the Belgium league for 18 million or something. I thought they would have had more gems that they could have maybe found. It's all a bit, I don't know. Okafor's an old target. He's like a previous recruitment team's target. It's let's have a look at the old list. Right, what have we got on there? All right, Okafor, he agreed to come before. It's like, what's going on here? What are they doing? Who are they targeting? So some answers, we need some answers. You know, it's like I mentioned on a couple of streams, I sent messages in going in foreign countries. You know, sporting directors have to come out and do press conferences and stuff. God, I would pay for our recruitment team to have to come out and answer as to what's been happened here, because it honestly it's mind-boggling. I mean, I was saying to the fellas before, Jay, I don't know what you think on this. The PSR situation now, I think, is going to, that narrative will come back very strongly. And look, I don't think the outgoings have been what they expected. They probably thought maybe a Strauch would go for 15 million, or Peru, a bid comes in for Peru and they get some decent money. We've not made anything, have we, really? We've not been able to generate anything. We had to cancel Bamford's contract, for God's sake. You know, it's like we've just not been able to generate any incomings.
Just before you come on this, Jay, I just want to let Gaz go because he needs to get off.
Yeah.
Gaz, I cannot believe you're leaving me with this happy, chappy pair of whites. Yeah. Gaz,
Sorry,
thanks
boys.
for
Don't
coming
cry
on, mate.
yourselves to sleep. Honestly, it's not worth
Oh,
it.
it's okay. We're Leeds fans. We're big.
I genuinely thought he was going to say, don't go to bed just yet. I really did.
I nearly did, but I thought, no, we'll hold off.
Gaz, a pleasure as always, mate. Thanks for taking your time to come on and talk City and Liverpool.
See you later, mate.
Successful
Nice to see you,
transfer
boys.
windows.
See you later.
You too, mate.
Bye-bye.
I'm sorry, I am going to be just scoffing a little bit while I'm not talking because it's 9:30 at night and I've not eaten yet. So, yeah, PSR. I definitely think there's a realm in which, I definitely think there's a realm in which the club thought they were going to get more takers for some of his players. But we said right at the beginning of the window, Browne, we didn't really have any sellable assets. We don't. You know, they're all maybe £7 to £12 million worth of players that are unproven in the Premier League. Like, where do you? And from a PSR standpoint, how do you make it balance against the books if you're looking at a Dan James who we spent 25 million on, or a Brendan Aronson who we spent 25 million on? Like, you can't. You're not even making anything on the books, so it makes it impossible to kind of do any business really. Even Pirro, how much more of what we paid are you getting for him? So it leaves us in a really tricky spot. But I do also then blame and I'm looking at the 49ers and Underwood with regards to not being able to move some of these players on. Ilan Melier still sat here. How?
That's crazy to me. That's crazy.
How are we going in with the fourth choice goalkeeper that's going to be on all right money, who's just going to sit in the under-21s for a year? Or until January. Like, it blows my mind. And I can't help but have to look at him. And, you know, Daniel Farke is going to have to pull off a bit of a miracle now. I said to you, if the window finishes like this team will finish 17th or 18th. And I still believe that. I think it's got enough to stay up just. But I think I wouldn't be at all surprised if it finished 18th. A couple of signings would have done.
Injuries are going to be critical potentially.
Dan James gets an injury every season and he's out for a period of time. So, you know, what you're left with then. And so, you know, it's funny, just a quick, but, you know, Nonto's completely lost that wonder kid thing as well. I think he was someone I always thought was like, could potentially be in the Somerville bracket where you get a decent fee. There were links to Everton for 15, 20 million or whatever. I think he's completely lost his kind of, I don't know, he doesn't feel like an exciting potential type of player anymore. You know, he's just kind of, I don't know, it's weird. So yeah, anyways, I just wanted to say that.
I think Nonto, I mean, I've always said this about Nonto, but I think his reputation has superseded him.
Yeah.
I think he's a solid winger. Is he Premier League level? I'm not really so sure. But we signed him at a time where we were desperate for £5 million, even though we're an Italian international. Why didn't anybody else take him? Why didn't anybody in Serie A want him?
Yeah.
You know, he made international caps because Mancini was proving a point and he didn't really have anything else to go at. He was never good enough to be playing at the top level of international football. And I think he's an okay player. But I'd put him in the same bracket as Dan James and Jack Harrison. Industrial.
Yeah.
It's just come through, by the way, again to the press. What we were talking about earlier, the Brian Broby sign for Sunderland has now been confirmed at long last. I think he's about 21.7 million in total by the looks of it, but from the reports, but that
It's a bargain, Chris.
it is. It really is a
Bargain.
great signing for that price. I mean, we'll come back to Leeds in due course. Wider view on the transfer window for the Premier League clubs. Brownie, I'll come to you because you don't have a gob full of food.
I mean, Matt Gay, that's fallen through, hasn't it? And I mean, Liverpool just as a whole. I mean, Isaac, that's done, isn't it? And I mean, there's been a lot of scrabbling about. I mean, it's been an unreal window, hasn't it? I mean, there's been a few transfer windows where it's been pretty, nothing much happening, but this year it's been absolutely crazy this summer. I'll admit I've just been so focused on Leeds' transfer business, even though they haven't done anything. I've not really taken in any other transfers that's gone on. I've seen Visa. Has he gone? He's gone to Newcastle, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Has that been done?
Gone through.
I'm just having a look now, seeing what else has been done.
Wolves have picked up
Harvey Elliott.
striker.
Aston Villa getting Elliott and Sancho on loan. Has that been confirmed yet? Or
I'm just double checking now, looking at the BBC. Anyway,
Both
Villa desperately need. I mean, I watched them against Palace last night, and they're in desperate need of an injection or something, and they'll be hoping it's a bit like Asensio and Rashford, what they in January last year, that comes in and just boosts them all. But Harvey Elliott, great signing, on loan, future fee, and all that. To be honest, I've just been so focused on Leeds, I've not really absorbed what else has been happening, to be honest.
I'm just going to look elsewhere as well, across the Football League as well. I see that Aaron Ramsey's gone to Leicester on loan from Burnley. Patrick Roberts has gone to Birmingham on loan from Sunderland. Anything else of great note in the Championship?
Can I just say, I've noticed it can be all PR spin, but if you look at what a lot of the players are saying when they've joined Sunderland, it really smacks of great recruitment and selling the project and convincing these players to join. Granit Xhaka, as an example, at the other end of the scale, doesn't know anything about Sunderland. Why would he? But they've been able to convince him of the project. Maybe that's been lacking with us. Not sure.
Well, it's a fair point, because we looked at the start of the window before any deals had been done between the three new promoted sides, and we all looked at it, we all said Leeds is the easiest club to sell. It's the easiest project to on the face of it to sell because of the size of the club, and that's, again, with no disrespect to Sunderland, because they are, of course, they're a massive club as well, but they had so much more work to do on their squad than it was envisaged that Leeds had to do on theirs. And whilst Leeds has needed it, I'd say we looked at that at Sunderland's starting 11 in the Championship, and we're like, yeah, they need 9 players if they're going to have a chance of staying up, and they've gone and done that and more besides for some good quality squad depth. I mean, you mentioned kind of those in the kind of the roles and the recruitment side of things. I mean, I'm surprised there's not Leeds fans protesting outside Allen Road to hang on from the stakes and all that to get rid of the recruitment team.
Just to put it in context, so Adam Underwood, who's the sporting director, and it was his task this summer to put together this squad. He was recommended by Nick Hammond for an internal promotion when Nick Hammond was leading the role, he recommended Adam Underwood, but he'd never been in such a prominent role. He's been internal at Leeds for God knows how long, and he's worked his way up. Very admirable. He's done brilliant to kind of work his way to that position. But I think big question marks will be over this now. Should they have replaced Hammond with someone experienced, knows the market? Yeah. Because Sunderland got, who was it? Sunderland got someone who'd done it for quite a prominent team. I can't remember who, but they got someone in with the experience. There's going to be fingers pointed, especially if this ends in a relegation, because, me and Jay were just talking the other day, 49ers are planning on selling up in 5 years and doubling the value of the club. Well, it doesn't happen if we get relegated. So,
I mean, as well on that, Parag was literally in front of the Sky cameras just a couple of weeks ago saying how they were going to be live. They were, attacking transfers. It basically came out and said they were happening, and they simply haven't. I mean, to get promoted and bank on 2 free transfer number 9s, both of which have been out predominantly for the last 2 years, is mental. and I like both of them. I really like what I've seen from both Metro and Dominic Calvert-Lewin so far. But that isn't good enough. It's not okay that's what we're hanging his hat on.
No.
Yeah, they've massively dropped the ball. It's going to take a miracle now, and it's going to take a different look side to be able to stay up. We're going to be the side that concedes 40 and scores 30 and stays up if we stay up. It's going to be one of them. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna score so few goals. That's how it feels, unless something really clicks in, or the championship players really level up. I saw somebody earlier, and I watched a lot of content while I've had a chance today, say that basically we've put ourselves in the same position that we needed the players that got us promoted under Bielsa to step up. We need Bogle to be ailing. We need, Rodon to be Cooper or whoever. You know what I mean? Like, we need Dominic Calvert-Lewin to be Pat. We need the core of the championship players. We need to see them have an elevation that says, yeah, we can compete at this league, unless we go out and make some sort of miraculous free transfer signing.
Can I say, does Anton Stack, do Bijol, will they have question marks about the project? And Anton Stack, for me, he must be thinking, I thought we were going to, because players will look at it. Players are not stupid. They're going to look at it and go, what's going on? And, I'm worried about us doing that, and it's a shame on the back of a great result against Newcastle where we put a horrible week to bed, got a great point. We've had a great start when you look at it, 4 points out of 9, no goals conceded at home. Just follow it up.
I believe so,
get the transfers. Just get it done. And instead, we've kind of left it. I said to the boys, it won't happen. It just won't happen, obviously. But I would respect Farke for walking away. I really would, because I think he's been left in a position for me hiding to nothing. Because what's going to happen now with his style of football? It's so reliant on those attacking positions having that quality, and we've not given it to him. And it's like, I don't know.
You could argue that he could get a spot in Germany in the top flight on the back of what he did last season and the beginning of this, given the facts of why he would then be leaving the club. Again, the 49ers, in terms of what they said, Parag in particular, he promised that Daniel Farke wouldn't be legged up. He would have the resources available to do it.
I said to Browne and the lads, I think just before you came, I think it was before you came on, that it almost feels like he's been set up to fail with the lack of activity. And one of the other things I wanted to touch on as well is how many, certainly in the first 2 weeks of the window, how many targets you were in for and missed out on as well. Not even just this last few weeks where it's been just so quiet, but there was a long time earlier in the window when you were in for players or allegedly in for players, but they were just opting to go elsewhere.
You know what? I get that. I understand that players are going to go elsewhere. Like, that happened.
What Brownie said about the selling the project thing compared to Sunderland.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, I definitely think you have to say that there's been some lack of ability from Underwood when it comes to selling the project. I definitely think that exists. I also recognise the fact that it's not just as simple as come and sign for Leeds and then they just rule out all the other big clubs. Like Pajau was an example. I think Pajau was pretty close.
Fully agreed, wasn't it? Yeah. He just literally picked Marseille.
And then, to go to Marseille over Leeds is fair. Like, I get it. But then, we also know that we were both in for Noah Siddiqui and Diarra, and they both picked to go to Sunderland. Diarra, I think we backed out because the transfer fee were too high. Siddiqui, I think he chose Sunderland over Leeds, from what I've read and understand. So there's definitely a bit of both. But then you've got to have your ducks in a row with it. I appreciate the need for sorting the spine of the team out and going to get the centre-backs, the goalkeeper and the centre midfielders. But the attackers are the most important players on the pitch, and they're also the most difficult signings to do because they're the most attractive, especially when you step up to the Premier League, because it's not just... You're not on your own after these players. You know, in the Championship, when we signed in Manor Solomon as an example, I think we did a good, we did some good sales work on Manor Solomon to make that deal happen. But Premier League clubs didn't want him. There was a massive injury concern, and they didn't want him. So he was then left with the top of this country in the second division or going abroad. And he obviously wanted to stay over here. So it's not the same when you're recruiting for top players in the Championship as it is when you're recruiting for top players in the Prem. It's just nowhere near the same.
No. Well, and I mean, just on the PSR thing, I mean, there was 30 million there available for Pai Zhao. So
yeah,
where's that gone?
I don't understand how we've ended up scrapping around for Harry Wilson for 7 to 10 million. That blows my mind a little, if I'm honest.
And look, let's look ahead then, because the fixtures for September are all games in which you would look at and think Leeds should take points from, but therefore, if you don't take points, that's when you start to look a little bit edgy, because, look, somebody mentioned earlier, it's Fulham away next after the international break, then Wolves away, and then Bournemouth at home to finish up the month. I mean, you really wouldn't put it past the Harry Wilson off the bench late winner for Fulham, would you?
No.
Go on, bro. Sorry, Browne.
You both said that.
No, you go for it, mate.
I mean, the likelihood is, Chris, he won't play. And he won't play any part. Yeah, Fulham have signed, I think it's 2 wingers today. And he was already a backup option.
Bench option, yeah.
I can't understand what's gone on at Fulham today where this deal then didn't end up happening. If I'm honest. From everything that we're reading, it's been agreed. Harry Wilson was told, and his people were told to go and find another club. He'd done that. They'd done that. Everything was sorted. And then for whatever reason, Fulham at the last minute decided that they wanted... Sorry, Tyler Roberts in the chat just made me laugh. They decided that they didn't want to let him go. It seems like a really weird one. It seems almost a little bit vindictive. Not that I would understand the reason why they would do that with us, but
why should they help us?
Yeah, I guess.
Is it not surprising though that there'll be surely there were other options though as well. Surely there, if Wilson didn't come through, there were other options on the table from even if it's other Premier League club. This is where you have, or you should have, 3, 4, 5, 6 possible options for every position almost. So if you don't get your first, second, or third target, you've got some. You move on to the next one. It seems like they went, let's try for Harry Wilson. Oh, that's not going to happen. Oh, we got nothing else.
I think Harry Wilson was probably number 7 or 8 on the list. That's part of the problem. But the fact that we haven't got a more extensive kind of network than just, Back wouldn't want to come, he wants to go to Forest. Right, okay. The next option then is just a squad option. It's just a madness. Bilal El Khanous ends up going to Stuttgart for 25 million, but then we were told in the press, it doesn't help that the media outlets that we get are so misleading. I don't know what the club are telling the local journals, but they just never seem to get it right nowadays. They seem to be so far off it, so we don't know what's right and what's wrong.
Well, we always said 49ers work in silence, but it just feels like everything's been kind of put out there rightly or wrongly, and then it's gone south. I mean, Sunderland just seem to get these deals announced like no links, and they've suddenly signed, Bobbery. It's like what's going on? That used to be us. That's what 49ers did. So yeah, it's big question marks about it, and it leaves us in a position where you're looking at goals and how we're going to score goals. I just don't know. Deflated with it, to be honest. And if you put a gun against my head now, I think we're going down. I massively hope I'm wrong. It's just the difficulty I have is when the manager has explicitly said we need more attacking quality, and we've just not delivered anything, not even one. I don't know. It's
been this kind of like
crazy,
like absolute focus on certain players as well. But when they come off, fine, you can understand it and it makes sense. But we've offered north of 60 million for Muniz and Pai Zhao, and ended up with neither of them, spent the whole window on them, and then had no second option that would be willing to come.
Yeah. this is what I mean. Like, I know it isn't as simple as Football Manager. I know that real life isn't that simple, but it's like I said with Wilson today. Like, surely the picture one, when that doesn't work, you start going for your second, third, and fourth targets. Like, and that was how many weeks ago did that fall through? Now 2, 3.
Oh, yeah, more longer, I think.
So this is the madness. Like, you wouldn't even play Football Manager the way that Leeds have ended up playing this transfer window. You wouldn't.
Bear in mind as well, Chris, right? We wanted Manor Solomon from day one of the transfer window. We said, Manor Solomon's our man. Went to Spurs. Spurs then said, got a new manager. He wants to take a look at him. Fine. It then took us a month, maybe even 6 weeks before we signed Noah Okafor, and we knew that we needed that left winger. Why did that take so long? Like, it's
weird.
nuts.
Do you know what though? There was a kind of slowness all the way. Even Bijol, which I think was the first signing, it was like, yeah, the deal's agreed, and it took about 8 days before it was like you had any promotional video. I'm like, what is going on? Get these done and dusted and move on. It's like just dragging us feet. It's I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see what Farker says in next presser.
Oh well, I mean, yeah. And I feel sorry for him because it's not his fault. It's not his fault clearly, and what's he going to say? What can he say now? He explicitly said he needed more quality in attack. It'll be fascinating. It'll be absolutely fascinating to see what he says on that.
It's not just the manager making excuses as well, is it?
No, it's not. No,
it's not. It's miles away from that. Like, we can all see, it's glaringly obvious that we're very industrial. I think there's a lot of tactics going on. I think there's a lot of system. I think, the 2 clean sheets show that we've stepped up and defended against 2 pretty decent attacks, especially the one in Newcastle. So the manager's setting his team up right, but then he needs somebody to go and deliver the goods up there. And we don't have the personnel. Like, we just don't. Like, there's nothing that I could even suggest to say, yeah, try that, because that'll give us a little bit more creativity. Not without going, ridiculously off grid and doing something with like maybe 2 strikers or something. You know what I mean? Like, which we're not going to do. So yeah, mate, bizarre. Really, really bizarre. Frustrated.
I mean, I feel like we are starting to get towards the end of this, because how much more is there to say about absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things? I just want to throw this up away from obviously Leeds United. The Isak deal has gone through. Have we seen the statement that Newcastle have put out? If you haven't, brace yourselves. Bear with me. Let me just close that. Here we go. The statement is as follows.
Wow.
Not even a mention of how many goals he scored. Just the Sweden international joined from Sociedad in 2022. Made 109 appearances. That's it.
Did either of you see the video that's surfacing of Isaac talking to Van Dijk on the pitch at the end of last season?
No.
So Isaac's kind of caught on camera, like high-fiving Van Dijk at the end of the game. I think it's the cup final. Yeah, cup final. And
back in February.
Were it February or were it late? Maybe it was the game later. I don't know.
Anyway. March actually for final, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, the game's between them at the end of the season, and Isaac says to him, the paraphrasing here to a point, but he says, "You best still be there next season." So this was well in the offing, by the look. And Van Dijk kind of looks around at him, looks confused, and then just kind of like looks away and walks away. If you go search Twitter, you can see it's pretty clear. Isaac already knows that's going down. So yeah,
Newcastle then basically didn't keep the promise with him, and like there was something kind of bubbling away, or
who knows? Or Isaac's just made his own arrangements and decided that he wants to go and play for Liverpool, and I think that's probably more likely the case. I mean, we've never seen a window more full of player power than this window.
True.
And that is scary.
Even Matteo Joseph, for God's sake.
I know.
Wonder how he's getting on, by the way. Is he playing?
He came off the bench in his first game. I don't know. I haven't looked after that. He's bang average. He'll only have an average season at best, won't he? So It made me laugh that people were going mad about Ramazani getting an assist in the 96th minute when Valencia were already 2-0 up. I'm like, just relax. Like he's player crosses ball to other player. Like relax. Like he still came off the bench. He did exactly what we were doing for Leeds. So,
Hey, just you wait until Leeds players aren't crossing said ball in for player and not getting assist. So.
The thing is, right? I've defended the club and Farker with regards to the Ramazani stance. But now it's undefendable. Not from Farker's
now looks ridiculous to let him go, doesn't it?
Yeah. We needed another winger that can play on either side, can play on the right wing, and we've ended up with nobody. And we had one. And Ramazani, while I do think he has lots of flaws, and he's not the player that a lot think he is. He's probably the most dynamic out of all of the wingers that we had. Like he can do something a little different.
I mean, let's do a comparison. Is he better than nothing?
Yeah,
literally, that's what you've ended up with instead of Ramazani. Is nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we've just gone and improved Valencia for nothing.
And we've got 4 goalkeepers registered, by the way.
Browne, stop saying the goalkeeper.
Stop with you, those keepers.
I mean,
Or is it Perry, Darlow, Billy? Oh, is Ken still there as well?
Yeah.
Get him retrained.
I don't think we've even managed to fill the quota. I don't even think we've filled the full 25-man squad.
After all that, kind of people say, well, we're going to have to get rid of X, Y, and Z because we're going to fill the quota. It's like, no, we haven't even got a full squad.
Guys, I'm convinced that we're going to sign somebody on free transfer. I'm convinced we will.
Who? I mean, I really want to delve into transfer market and just like free agents released from European leagues and see who's actually out there. But yeah, I mean, it's something when
ex-Chelsea guy.
Ziyech should be a tidy little signing actually if he's got all left.
How old is he now? 32. Where's he been? Has he been playing over in Saudi?
Or something, or did he end up in Saudi? He might well have done.
Yeah, we're in Turkey for a bit, wasn't it? I mean, Josh Brownhill's the obvious one. Because he's
no way should Josh fucking Brownhill be the obvious one. Like,
Chris, I mean, I know, but he is. I mean, he's just turned down Wolves today. He's a Premier League player. Yeah, it is mid, but this is where we're at. Like, I mean, after that, you're looking at Dele Alli. Like,
I mean, right, I'm just flicking through now. I mean,
Raheem Sterling, if he gets his contract cancelled.
He won't get his contracts cancelled.
Look, free transfers, and I'm not going to go position specific here.
Just quickly, sorry, before we do skip it on, you keep that list there. Raheem Sterling, apparently, I was listening on the way home, has turned down Premier League moves today. I wouldn't be surprised.
Who was that?
Raheem Sterling. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them was us. I wouldn't have been surprised at all. But apparently, he turned down Premier League moves that weren't right for him. That's what was said.
That sounds mental.
Yeah.
Because again, I appreciate he's on a shit ton of money and whatnot, sitting there at is he still at Arsenal? Or was that a loan?
No, that was a loan, wasn't it? So he's on Chelsea's books.
Is it Chelsea?
Chelsea's books.
Yeah.
But just why would you? I mean, again, it's pure speculation. Leeds may or may not have been one of them. But if Leeds were one of them, surely you take that move. Surely.
Depends on money, doesn't it? Depends on money.
Well, yeah, but that's between the two clubs, really, because if it's a loan move.
I'm talking about wages.
Yeah, but this is what I mean, though. Like, if it's a loan move, that's between the clubs in terms of how much percentage are Leeds going to pay Chelsea of it. So, from Sterling's perspective, it's play football or don't play football.
But how much is he on? I mean, how much is he on?
He'll be on about $300,000 a week. But if Leeds, if Chelsea are prepared to let him go for, I don't know, 20% of that, I mean, what, 60-ish grand, then you kind of would take that, especially for someone like Sterling in a World Cup year. Again, I appreciate the chances are slim, but if he has a blinder of a season with the experience he's got, you can force your way back in. It's mad. I mean, I'm looking at the free agents in terms of the recent ones. There's a couple of names that I know of, to be honest, more through FM and the like, but it's not a great list, I'll be honest. There's a few that you're like, yeah, you could bolster the squad, but it's just depressing as hell. And I'm not even a Leeds fan. It's just depressing as hell that this is what it's coming to. That I'm looking at this and thinking, Oh, Emmanuel Dennis, he's been released by Watford. Like, he's got some Premier League experience. Like, you're screwed.
I mean, you laugh, right?
And
But Manuel
36-year-old Alexis Sanchez.
Emmanuel
He's
Dennis.
going somewhere, isn't he? Sanchez, that's all.
Oh, is it? I'm just going off.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Dennis would probably improve our squad. That sounds mental.
He's only 27, to be fair.
I mean, we've been linked with him before. I've just seen that Manor Solomon's deal fell through at Palace, didn't it?
I was going to say, actually, yeah, what happened with it? Did it go on?
Yeah, it felt. I'm just reading ticker as you guys are talking. Then, yeah, Manor Solomon's loan from Spurs to Crystal Palace has collapsed. A deal sheet that gave them another 2 hours to complete it was signed, but Crystal Palace believed to have pulled out, which seems weird.
I mean, I know it's an injury, and you don't need defenders because actually you seem all right defensively, but he's out with an injury at the moment. 2 steps right. Tommy Yasu, who was at Arsenal, is a free agent. Like,
very injury prone, though. He basically out the whole last season.
Join Injury FC. Come on, come on down.
It's,
So,
yeah,
Fulham
it's a bit mad.
Fulham signed Tyreek George today and Kevin.
Yes.
Right? Who both play on the right.
For a combined, give or take, 56 million,
Yeah.
I think.
So, what? Like, they've agreed to the Harry Wilson deal. In what world does it make sense for them to have then kiboshed that at the last minute? It just
is it Fulham that's allegedly kiboshed?
Yeah.
Or is it the player?
All the reports from Beren Cross and everything, Wilson had agreed, everything was done, and then Fulham pulled out at the last minute.
Take this with a pinch of salt, but there is a Fulham account out there. I saw it earlier. I should have saved it, where it was saying that Leeds were haggling over some of the fee or something, and Fulham were unhappy with Leeds and trying to, I don't know, change the fee or lower the fee, something anyway, and seemed to imply that was the reason why. Don't know.
I think the reality would have been that they would have wanted Harry Wilson permanently. That I think is the reality. They wanted to loan him, but because Harry Wilson was in the last year of his contract, why would Fulham loan him? It wouldn't make any sense. So I think I can understand some, but then why are we in a situation where we're scrapping around trying to sign Harry Wilson on deadline day?
Exactly.
The one thing I will say is Leeds United are going to be a hell of a project on FM26 when it comes out, because to rectify this sack of
Yes,
it's like to build on. There's a lot to build on.
Chris, do you think this team can stay up? How do you see it as an outsider? No, because there can be no offense taken either way, because I think
it's one of those where I feel like defensively you could be fairly solid, but it's can you grind out enough results to get yourself, pick up the scrappy 1-0 wins, or hold out for good points away from home sort of thing. That can you do enough? Can you get those results to keep you in a? I mean, how much and how critical is January going to be? But I mean, Browne earlier seems to write off January already.
Well, I'm going to say one thing on this. There were a point last season where everything was going wrong. We've been quality all season, and we went on a bad run of form. Fan base is kicking off. Everything's on fire. And Farke came out and did an unbelievable press conference that immediately just kind of changed the mood and kind of changed the vibe. I don't want to spend the rest of the season just saying, right, we didn't sign players, we're getting relegated. You can't operate like that, can you? Where you just, we just give up now. Might as well not watch it then if you think that. I'm thinking Farke will kind of toe the line. I think he will kind of try and pull this round. Yeah, I mean, we've got an international window to think about it, but
even that's a U-turn though on Farke, given how vocal he'd been in recent weeks about I need attacking players. Repeatedly in press conferences. For him to then suddenly in press conferences say, "Oh well, the club tried the best," or words to that effect, etc. It's still a bizarre U-turn from him personally. Let alone, he's raging.
He's got to decide though: does he draw a line under it, move on, and go forward with it, or is he going to kind of blame it and have an excuse and all that kind of thing? That's all he can do now.
Yeah, true.
Unless we do get a freebie, he's got no choice other than to get on with it and try and change that narrative a bit. Now, if we get a good result going forward, if we get a good result against Fulham, Wolves, that mood can lift. It can lift. If James suddenly is, it seems a little bit more kind of, used to it and up to the level. If Nonto starts producing a final product, if Calvert-Lewin gets a goal, that mood can change very quickly. But yeah, I don't know. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth today, and I don't know. I don't know how that is going to play out. To be honest,
to try and answer your question, Jay, of from a neutral perspective, do I see this as it stands? No. I think January is massive. January is where you need to make up these shortcomings. I think if you can be in a position where you are, where you're within, if you're thinking of 18th, less than 6 points from safety, and you can have a good January and build on kind of the work to boost the squad defensively that has been done, then and build the attacking side that you need that you've not done now in January, then potentially I think you could. But as it is with this squad now, I think it's gonna be bloody difficult, and with or without Farke.
Two things on this. Number one, it's going to take a lot of heat off Daniel Farke, I think.
Yeah, true.
Because the fan base are going to now look a little bit further up, because even the staunchest of Farke haters know that this squad was still missing one or two in the attacking areas. And I think it'll now elevate him even further if he manages to get results, which he has so far. If we continue with this trend, we'll stay up. So I think that's one thing. And the second thing I'm just going to say, as much as I wasn't a fan of signing him, why has there been nothing on Hamer today?
Yeah,
know.
I'm surprised generally that he hasn't gone anywhere. Actually,
it makes no sense to me. I mean, how he's ended up starting another full season in the Championship is mental, given his reputation and the fact that it'd probably been an attractive proposition for the Eredivisie or abroad, even if a Premier League team didn't want him. But I truly do believe that Leeds were interested in him. We've ended up the window with nobody. How have we not ended up with him?
And he'd have been a really easy man to get.
Easy
man to get.
Easy deal. Yeah, I don't know. I thought he might be the one, actually. I thought if we do get one, it might be him.
I thought it'd get done. Yeah, I thought it'd get done.
Maybe both, but I don't know. It's bizarre, but I think if you're trying in January to suddenly, recruit, and I mean, how much money are you going to have to spend in January? Who's available? Who's going to want to sell you the players? We tried that. Last time we went down for the Premier League, we got Verber and Rutter and Weston McKennie on loan, and it becomes a bit of a desperate kind of thing, doesn't it? So I don't know. I mean, if we haven't got money for big deals now, how are we going to do that in January?
Baron Cross has put out. Baron Cross has put out. Leeds say they were given the green light to put in a deal sheet for Wilson, and Fulham failed to sign it. Fulham say between mid-afternoon and deadline, they told Leeds the player was no longer for sale. Just seems a bit. It just seems weird. Why would they want to keep him after signing them two players? Just really, really weird.
The only thing I can.
It's their prerogative, though, isn't it? It's their prerogative. It's our fault for being so kind of.
Yeah, I agree.
To kind of be, devil's advocate almost on that is, I wonder though if they had doubts over whether, because obviously the Kevin deal didn't happen until after the deadline. So I'm wondering if they kind of were like, oh, we're not so sure actually if our deal is going to go through, therefore we can't sanction letting Wilson go yet. Obviously, that's scuppered things and ruined things probably for Harry Wilson between now and January. But I do wonder whether, I say, just playing devil's advocate, maybe Fulham will just look out for themselves and thinking, actually, if we don't get Kevin over the line or whatever, we can't afford to let Wilson go.
Yeah.
I've seen Crystal Palace got Uche done, didn't they? They got Uche done in the end, and that was one that was like, I don't know, been all over the place.
Let's wrap it up on that. We probably have talked about, well, nothing long enough in the end for a transfer deadline day stream. Big thank you to everyone that joined us earlier on for the comments over the course of the evening as well. Big thank you to Lewis Sale and to Gareth Walker as well for joining us earlier. And for Jay and Brownie for getting on and giving us your take at least on the way that Deadline Day has panned out, which is, as you say, as we've said all along, not exactly in the slightest how we expected it to go for Leeds United. Big thank you, as I say,
Gazzy's
for everyone.
happy, so that's something, isn't it? Gazzy's happy.
Gazzy's
Gazzy
hilarious
does,
now.
yeah.
Apart from Gay, Gazzy's absolutely delighted. Although apparently Gay was like signed off,
Close,
photos
wasn't it?
taken in Liverpool kit, signing video done, the works, and then that fell through because Glasner said that he'd go if Gay left. God,
Don't forget though,
power too.
Don't forget though that Downsy said it'd definitely get done, so it were gonna get done.
What does our man in the know really know?
Yeah.
Anyway, big thank you to everyone for joining us. We'll see you soon on the West Yorkshire Football Show.